No, no, no.
No. Putting a thumb up your ass whilst during sex isn't gay. I swear.
Hey.
Are we live? Shit.
Oh. Welcome, everyone. My name is Amos Joseph, joined by my co-host, Brook Potter, and this is the 10K Rum Podcast. How's it going, Brook?
It's going well. Hopefully we weren't live just now, but anyway. I'm doing well. You know, this is my last week in Essex before I head off to Wales and Northern Ireland. I'm going to see my uncle, going to go and see a friend outside in Northern Ireland. Well, you know the guy out there and stuff like that. So I'm really just trying to make the most of it. I've kind of switched off with everything and just coasting because this is coming to the end of summer. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Got one more trip and then it's all over.
Then you're back on track for the rest of the year, huh?
Pretty much. I have one other trip that I got to go back to Trinidad and Tobago. I will not say when for just security reasons, but that's a very short trip. It's like 4 days. So yeah, just once that's out of the way, it's grinding away, man.
Yeah. But yeah, we're actually well, I shouldn't say funny enough. We're going to actually have a guest on next week while you're gone.
Excellent.
And then hopefully once you get back, we're going to have our episode 69.
Yes. And we'll have some guests there as well. Hopefully a little bit of excitement.
Exactly. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, or those of you who have joined us in the past, since the beginning, since whenever you joined us, we actually do have a subscribe star. Now, in the past, if you look at our past videos, you'll see a Patreon. We've decided basically we're not going to use Patreon just because, fuck Patreon. Screwing over all these creators. But we do have a subscribe star. It is updated for the most part to the 10K Rum Podcast, not under the Shitlord Preachers. You can basically make a monthly donation. I think it's $1, $5, $10, or $25 a month. Each of them having their own benefits. We're still tinkering a little bit with those.
Yes.
But a lot of the benefits that are there already, even if you're just signing up for the 1, 5, or 10, are pretty good So we're gonna be so do check those out in the description below. And to see, if you guys want to donate on a monthly basis, it definitely helps with the show. Never know if we're going to have sponsors or anything too, but we'll look into that later. Now, one of the things that's really cool about that, I think it's the $5 one. If you donate $5 a month or more, we actually we're going to start doing a weekly video, about 10 or 15 minutes long, where Brooke and I basically give like a really, I guess, more raw take that we would not otherwise be putting on our regular show. Whether it's something we're up to, something we want to talk about. Let's just say I have a story that I'm going to be sharing on there as our first video that I would not share so easily on a regular show. So tune into that if you guys want for $5 a month. So, anyways.
Yes. So what's going on with you, Amos?
Nothing at all. No.
Same old.
Yeah. Totally nothing has been different in the last few days, but you guys can check out Subscribe Star and I might tell you there. So, no, I had an okay weekend. The Minnesota State Fair is starting in this last few days, so Minnesota's pretty busy. Definitely kind of affecting my work and stuff too. Knowing what I do, it's really busy.
I'll take that. I think we do the Minnesota. No, we did the Kansas Fair one year, a time when we were out there. Were you there for that?
No.
I don't think I did the Minnesota one, but I imagine it's probably very much the same. Are you going out this year?
Debatable. It's a really crowded thing, and it's tough to you got to plan, a day to get out there, find parking, and then get in, and it's a lot of it's a fun thing. It's they call it the Great Minnesota Get Together. It's a lot of food and rides and a lot of events that are going on. I went last year,
Mhm.
and it was actually during last year when I was doing the carnivore diet
Yes.
for that month. I was there, tried to eat as much meat as I could, and I had then there was they had like it's really like popular like kind of a corn on the cob kind of thing. So I ate that, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling fine. And then I had a beer, and that was just like,
Ooh. No,
yeah,
no, 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 no. Alcohol on the carnivore diet is not a good idea.
especially like a heavy beer that's at a state
Yeah.
fair that like hit me too, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, yeah, because you're not retaining as much water to dilute the alcohol. So, what makes you more resilient, apart from your liver and your brain working overtime to process it, is how much water your body retains. And without the carbohydrates to retain the water, you lose the water.
I didn't
And
really get drunk or anything. If anything, it just felt heavy.
oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, yeah. I like
Because beer is just beer, you know.
I was a pretty decent drinker until I started this diet. Now I'm like a lightweight, which is pretty insane. I always thought, I thought I had more in me.
A Trini lightweight. Imagine
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's such a shame, man. I'm gonna be ostracized. I'll have like the scarlet letter pretty soon. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Actually, I'm gonna be putting that to the test because tomorrow I'm heading out to the Notting Hill Carnival. Which was started by a Trinidadian. It's continued and stuff like that. Might be meeting a couple friends from Trinidad and Tobago who are out there. Going with another friend of mine from the Trading Academy. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. Just everybody send your positive vibes and hope I don't get stabbed because it has been known to be rather rough and tumble kind of thing. So
Stabbed.
yeah, there's a lot of crime, pickpocketing, stabbings, and stuff like that. Because I mean, people go there as a couple, girlfriend, boyfriend, and because everybody's kind of half naked and they're jumping around and there's tits and ass everywhere, and they grind on each other. We call it whining. People take a whine on a woman that's not their girlfriend, and then the man get angry, and the two of them get in a fight, and somebody stabs somebody. It's typical Caribbean behavior. Nothing to be worried about.
You were getting a little Trini there with your talking.
Oh, was I? Yeah, yeah. Well, it is in me. I can't keep that out.
Oh no, it was just funny. Like when you started describing the fighting, and I was like, wait, is this Brooke? What is he talking about? Like,
Actually, I got that comment the other day. Well, I guess in line with the carnivore diet, I don't have glaucoma anymore. Apparently, right? So I was diagnosed with glaucoma about a year and a half ago in Trinidad and Tobago. They put me on drops. And I came across here to the NHS and I went to the eye doctor and said, all right, we make an appointment and stuff like that. But I was on the drops. So they said, all right, when you stop the drops, make the appointment and go and do the test.
mm-hmm.
And I done that. And I recently, these are new glasses. I just changed my glasses. I went back. I'm off the drops for like a couple months. They did the test again. And it's like, no, your eyes are fine. So that's really big news. I don't need any more medication for that as well. So it's pretty cool.
Miracle cure.
I mean, it's not like my eyes have gotten better, right? I mean, the glasses are a little thicker, a little heavier, but that's huge. That's actually pretty huge because glaucoma is a big thing in my family. So to have that kind of off my back, I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Happy
Yeah.
to hear that.
Thanks. Yeah, I like the new glasses as well. I got a second pair as well, so I'm really getting old now where I have two pairs of glasses.
Do we have like similar glasses?
No, mine are Oakleys. I don't know if you could see that.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were telling me that. But the overall frame design is similar in some ways.
A little bit. Yeah, I mean, this is the style now, and I have the blue light tint in it. So because I'm staring at the screen so long, it blurs out the blue light from the screen. So if you look at it, sometimes it's got a little bit of a purple. Yeah, I think you can see it there.
Yeah, I see
like
that.
A little bit of a purple color to it. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Now, did you see anything that had happened at all this week? There's a couple news items. Nothing too crazy though. Like,
no, Trump has been letting us down, man. He hasn't put on any crazy horse shit in a long time. But I understand he's canceled his Greenland trip. So over the comments,
yeah,
the Prime Minister of Denmark, made some off the cuff comments, and Trump didn't take it to it. I mean, he didn't have to do that. He doesn't have to make this into an issue. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Supreme Court Justice in the United States, is being treated for pancreatic cancer. That's got the lefties up in arms. You know, they're holding on to RBG for their life.
Babylon B did a Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
The cybernetic one. Yeah, I saw that.
Because she's like, well, she's gotten like some sort of cancer treatment like four times or something.
Yes. She is
just fighting for every last inch of life to
Yes. And I mean, I think there's a lot of pressure on her as well from, I guess the progressive wing to keep her there. So Trump has already kind of skewed the court. What is it? 5-4 in favor of the conservatives. And if he appoints another justice, that wipes the progressive agenda out for at least a generation. So the Republicans are praying, and so are the progressives.
That's just crazy how that works. Like, I mean, you don't want to, man, because the Supreme Court's supposed to be unbiased.
Yeah, but I mean, like any institute of power, it's not going to be Mother Teresa's taking the bench, right? These people are appointed by politicians with an agenda.
Yeah, it's interesting that that's the case. Like, and that's the thing, is like, even like, you appoint these judges when they like show up on in any official function. There's no like political affiliation next to their name. No R, no D, or not even like a C or an L, something like that.
But they do say who appointed them, so they'll say appointed under Clinton or appointed under Bush or whatever. Yeah.
So, and then you do find out, like, even like the people who are supposed to be the most impartial and unbiased people in our society, to serve in office.
Yeah,
and they got their own little it's not like judges can have agendas per se, but they do have their own biases.
Of course. And I mean, we've seen that a lot of conservative cases about guns or freedom of speech. It's a partisan vote, basically. And yeah, I mean, they have their what was it? The gay couple that went to the cake maker in Colorado, and he's been to the Supreme Court twice, which should clearly be a property rights issue and a freedom of speech and freedom of religion act and stuff at all enshrined in the Constitution. The progressive judges dissented. They all voted against it, and it went down, kind of conservative lines. So yeah, it is unfortunately a political institute, just like it is here in the UK. We have a lawsuit from a guy called Robin Tilbrook. And basically, there's a piece of legislation, part of the Brexit withdrawal bill, that was passed in 2017 that basically said, well, on the departure date, which was March 29th, 2019, the UK is out of the EU with or without a deal, regardless. That's what the law, the codified with the Queen's stamp on it says. But we're still in it, right? We're well past that date. We're still in it. This guy took the law and he went to our Supreme Court here, and he basically said every action to extend this is illegal because the government, according to the law, has no power to do that. The first judge threw it out, and he went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court judge threw it out, but then they find out like he's co-chair of the European Commission on Law Reform, and he's like so tied into the EU. His whole job was to push EU law into the UK. So not exactly an objective, an objective individual. So it's the reality of the beast, man.
Yeah. It's actually funny that we're talking about this, because actually this reminds me. So yesterday when I was at the buddy's house, we were having a conversation about there's an interesting little office in Minnesota that not a lot of people know about. So we were talking about like oversight and all this stuff. We're having a political discussion and all this, and talking about government and um, yeah, talking about oversight with like specific departments of government.
Mm.
And this buddy of mine brings up this thing, the Minnesota office of the ombudsman.
Mm. Yeah.
You know about this thing, right? Like what
Well,
this
I
is?
don't know the specific. Yeah, we have ombudsman in the UK and in Trinidad and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's a
I
leftover
never
colonial
heard of this
power.
word till yesterday.
Oh, you've never heard of an ombudsman? Yeah.
And the reason about it, I think, is just because it's such a small office that, like, so I asked him about it. He goes, yeah, I mean, he goes, really? In Minnesota? At least so far in Minnesota, as far as he knows, the ombudsman is just a big old office with lawyers that don't really do anything.
Right. I
Um,
mean, they're usually different offices, like the financial ombudsman, the agricultural ombudsman, traffic.
yeah, but I mean, so for the viewers and listeners, the ombudsman is supposed to be an office that is basically looks into complaints or claims against what is it specific governments government departments of what is it maladministration.
Yes.
Basically, people not government organizations not doing the right thing or being abused, the powers or their um,
Yes.
as being abused in some way. They look into it. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So we're talking about all this, and he gave me a specific thing. I won't get too much into detail, but basically where someone he knew was trying to call in to put in a tip to look into basic maladministration, and through that, the ombudsman office basically dispatched a bunch of lawyers that ended up actually harassing some people.
Okay.
As part of, by looking into this case, basically was like really overstepping like decency, like being decent about like, because this whole thing was just abused. Like, so the
Right.
ombudsman's office was being like their powers are being abused. They went in and did all this, and nothing was found, obviously.
Right. Right.
So later on, these people then call the ombudsman office, and what they can do, depending upon certain things, like obviously if they want some information that the ombudsman has on a specific case, and if there's no national security secrets or safety concerns, like under the Freedom of Information Act, you can request just about anything from the
Right.
ombudsman's office, because it's just stuff that's either is public record, or you can ask them to make a public record by what they call an FOIA request. The ombudsman office, however, reserves the right, still, for some reason, basically illegally, reserves the right to say no.
Interesting. On the Freedom of Information request.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, there's this case I want to look into, which has no national security concerns, no safety concerns, no ongoing investigation. Like, it's a completed, record. It's a completed thing that they've looked into. I'd like to request that, an FOIA request, and the ombudsman office can say no.
Interesting. I think it comes down to the department, and because they do have oversight powers. Like, I used the ombudsman when I had an issue against the bank that I was involved with out here. I'm not going to say their name. And they because they're financial ombudsman, they directed me on the best course of action to take it. But again, it's a leftover Commonwealth thing, and because the Americans kind of pride themselves on not being European, I'm not entirely surprised that the federal government has kind of squashed, the accountability of the ombudsman office.
Yeah,
Your
so
system is very different to ours.
well, this is the Minnesota's ombudsman, so state ombudsman. But yeah, he was so he was looking into that, and he basically said, like, so they, these people started like really digging into it, like, why can the ombudsman just literally just reject a request for like our right to information.
Mm-hmm.
They said, well, they'll do it all the time. And I
Most
said,
of
well,
them, most of them don't want to work.
so then they looked into, well, who actually is like, who's the oversight for the ombudsman's
Yeah.
office? Oh, and it's like some what is it? Some committee in the Minnesota House of Representatives.
Right.
But they never exercise that power.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's this kind of like, there's a bit of like this like circular, problem here. There's like, one department watches the other, and then there's another department over here watches that one. But in the end, no one's really watching anyone.
I mean, it's the same problem we have here. So we've got a ruling from the Supreme Court on the case, and it was thrown out because the judge is basically his whole premise is to push EU law in the UK. Who do we go to? We now have to go up to not the European Court of Justice, that's something different, but the European Court on Human Rights.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to go to a court even above our Supreme Court and basically try to appeal to this is not part of the EU. It has Europe in it. It's a different type of court. To basically say, well, look, there's no grounds for this to be thrown out. Look, all these other people have commented on it, judges, politicians, lawyers, and they all say it's legitimate. This person can't just whimsically decide that. But this is the flaw when you politicize the justice system. That the whole point of the appeal up to the Supreme Court is supposed to act as accountability. So you get something crazy out of, in your case, like the Ninth Circuit Court, some crazy left-wing nonsense, trying to steal people's guns or whatever the case is. You are supposed to appeal it up to the Supreme Court, and you find out once and for all. And that's kind of how the common law has always dealt with that kind of accountability. But
Right.
it's flawed when the institutions become politicized.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Especially when there's money involved. Like, yes, for us, there's a lot of European money coming into our justice system. They've basically bought out the legislature. The legislature in this country is fully on board with Europe because that's their long-term retirement plan. They serve here and then they go and they become lobbyists and make, six-figure salaries.
Yeah.
It's fucked.
The thing with the ombudsman's office I heard was just basically, they employ a bunch of lawyers, and these lawyers can just bill hours.
Yeah.
And
they don't actually have to do anything.
And money is just coming out. Like, yeah, they said with this, when the ombudsman office had to respond to this false tip, like they actually had to go through, like lawyers came in, were doing all sorts of digging. So then, so you look at that, it becomes like, if they're digging through files they're not allowed to, then it becomes, what is it? Then that could touch on to like, searching without a warrant, then, asking all these questions. So basically, it's pushing and abusing a lot of these constitutional rights of just citizens, and then they get paid for it. And then it's all funneled through our tax dollars,
Yeah. The whole mechanism is funded by tax dollars.
Yeah, because we got to this because I was talking about like, who is the ultimate oversight? Like, who is the oversight of the oversight of the oversight? Like, what's this cycle? Because
the ultimate answer is your Second Amendment, right? That's kind of the last stop of everything.
What I'm saying is, if you're looking through, the supposed infallible system of government. We talked about like the how I guess you could call it the inherent problem of this if you want this constitutional republic that we have is 1776. Everything's great. Like we just Well, I understand what I'm saying here.
Yes,
in terms of like the political and the government, like let's move forward a little bit into like the 1800s. Things are getting a little better. Like we have these, the government is, as it stands, you don't have all these crazy departments. The government's not overbloated. You have a lot of things going on. Then, so America's like very, very free. Like in a lot of ways, I've talked to like minarchists and stuff. They say they really like, at least in terms of principle, like the beginning of America.
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone about this too. They said basically America has so much freedom and so much sort of leeway when it comes to how it's been developed over the last 200 some years, that's a big part of why it is the way it is today. So we have all this unexplored territory with this constitutional republic. So all this freedom, people are like basically, and people, the individuals started to step in. We talked about like the mutual aid societies. There's a lot of these things where individuals and organizations stepped in to supply all these things to society.
Right.
We talked about like, and if you look at like early Second Amendment type stuff, we talked about the Monroe Doctrine. You and I talked about that before.
Yeah.
In the beginning, the government would wage war by basically renting militias and weapons and military assets from the people. Like they didn't have their own army.
Exactly.
But then, because there's all this unexplored, territory that the government didn't really look into, that gave them that freedom, gave the government the freedom to eventually come up with their own army, establish a national bank. And as you move forward a little bit more, you get our first progressive president, Woodrow Wilson, and we start printing money. We started banning.
You were still on the gold standard at that point. It wasn't until the 1970s with Nixon where it really got out of control with the central bank. But yeah, I understand the point. I mean, the institutions that kind of quote unquote enslave us were birthed out of freedom, and they were birthed out of the idea of the public good, when really and truly it's kind of a power grab. So
right, and the fall of mutual aid societies in the Great Depression was because the government, so you had, not only did you have a depression, but you had the Dust Bowl. That double whammy basically cornered the government to go, oh shit, we need a little bit of welfare.
It's a humanitarian emergency, and which is always how it is. It's always how it goes.
That bloated into what we have today, where you pop out a couple extra kids and you're taken care of for life. And so so we talked about that. That's the problem. It's like, constitutional republicanism is great until shit hits the fan. And
in terms of history, constitutional republics last the longest. So we got the Spartan Empire that was a constitutional republic, lasted 800 years. Generally, a democracy doesn't last more than about 200 to 300 years, right? The Roman Empire, again, was a pretty good version of a constitutional, but I think, the Senate kind of overruled everything. But so it's the best we've got. It's the best that we've got. But I completely get all government, every single one has the same inherent problem. Right. And so all of our leftist progressive friends are going to spin around and be like, oh, the greedy capitalists, all they care about is making money and whatever. Yeah, but you can't make money apart from people who actually steal money. I'm not talking about them. You can't make money without actually serving the needs of people. So while yes, they get rich off of that if they're doing it legally, you could only do that by solving other people's problems. That's why you get rich. But they switch over to the idea that government is benign and government is the will of the people. And they never stop to consider that maybe the politicians have their own agenda just as much as they think the capitalists do. They never
stop. If anything, actually, the agenda that the government has, politicians have, is actually more corrupt than
it's worse. Because unlike a corporation, if you fuck up, right, like Enron or WorldCom or Deutsche Bank or one of these places, you're done. You go out of business. We don't have Lehman Brothers anymore. Bernie Madoff is in jail, right? Like all of the big Ponzi schemes, I'm not saying they didn't work for a season, but eventually the scam is found out and you go to jail. The scams the government has pulled, nobody goes to jail. They don't even admit it. They just blame capitalism and the evil bankers and all this other shit. But the progressives do not understand that politicians have an agenda of their own. And it's not to serve the people, it's to gain power and to remain in power.
Yeah, exactly. Give themselves raises, maintain being the incumbent seat in whatever office they're serving.
Yes.
2/3 of their time. So all members of Congress spend 2/3 of their time fundraising.
Yeah. And I think if I don't know exactly the rules, I've heard somebody mention this, but maybe one of our viewers, listeners can correct me. But if you have a fundraising campaign and you finish the campaign and you still have money in that campaign fund, you get to keep the money. So it's actually in the interest of some people to raise a hell of a lot of money and get disqualified early on, and they just kind of make bank.
Yeah, I've heard there's like, so, I mean, it gets split up somehow. Like,
yeah, it might be different
all
states and different races. I don't know. It's something like that. But it's the naivete of the progressives to think that yes, everything that government does is for the benefit of the people. And I've done an entire video on that. It's like, especially out here in the UK, everybody's screaming, "Oh, the NHS needs to be fully funded." And I kind of look at them like, have you ever heard of a fully funded government agency? Like, seriously, have you ever heard of a government agency saying, "Stop, we have enough money, we don't need any more"? No, of course not. No fucking way. All of them are competing for budgets, right?
Yeah.
So that is the key inherent problem in all government agencies. If they actually solve the problem they were commissioned for, they're out of a job. It's just like President Trump has just shut down the Y2K government agency that was dealing with the problems of government computers in Y2K. 18 to 19 years after the emergency has surpassed, he's just got funding on that. I think it was last year, actually. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Why? Because the Y2K, every year they've got a budget and they find a way to justify their budget, and God alone knows what they're doing.
Dude. Y3K totally is going to happen.
Yeah. We need to be ready for the next 1,000 years. I don't know what pitch they make to Congress, but Congress goes along with it because it employs the electorate. And if you have people employed by the state, they're more likely to vote for whoever the incumbent is.
What was it you were saying? Like, people think that government serves the will of the people.
Yeah, it never has.
Right. Let's word it this way. Yes, government does serve the will of the people in government.
The people in government. Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is why Trump is so brilliant, because let's be real. He was a sledgehammer to the political establishment in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
It is the reason Brexit is so tumultuous, because again, it is the will of the people being expressed, which is to leave the European Union, against a public service and a governing political body that does not want to leave. Mm-hmm. So again, you are seeing these clashes more and more. And I think, and we're seeing it, we will probably be seeing it very soon in Asia with Hong Kong and the situation that's going on out there. Yeah, it's showing that the big divide between the people versus the ruling elite. And it's a real issue. It's a real problem.
Yeah. Now, what's going on with you guys over there in the UK? Anything new with Brexit?
Not yet. I mean, our new prime minister, Boris Johnson, interesting character. He just met with Macron in France, and Bojo is a bit of a kind of a bumbling showman. He's kind of like Trump light in a lot of ways, right? So he's a bit of a showman. Yeah, Boris Johnson, we call him Bojo. Yeah, Bojo is a bit of a showman and stuff like that, and he's kind of blustering and he makes a lot of statements, not as off the cuff as Trump, but Trump light. That's what we say. So he went out to France and they did a joint press conference. Of course, they're discussing. I think we've got, I don't know, we're supposed to leave at the 30th of October, I think is the new date. So we only got like 2 months, 3 months kind of thing. And they did a joint press conference, and Macron, who's the leader of France, he kind of basically said, look, what the UK is doing is irresponsible. We don't want you to, basically destroy yourselves, whatever. And we don't think the EU is going to renegotiate anything. So you're kind of wasting your time, and they basically want us to swallow the withdrawal agreement.
Right.
But then at the same time, Bojo meets with Angela Merkel, who is Chancellor of Germany. And she makes a statement that is being, all of the talking heads and the pundits are jumping upon, which is she's willing to discuss an alternative to the key issue for a lot of people, which is the backstop in Northern Ireland. And for a lot of people, that looks like the EU has blinked in this standoff between the no deal and the deal. If Angela Merkel is instructing the European Parliament to look at alternatives, it almost seems like they've kind of caved. They've at least not as inflexible after all these months of saying, no, we're not going to change our mind. No, we're not going to do anything. So it's going to get heated. It's going to come down to the wire. Everybody's just watching everything. In fact, I was in the markets at the time when these statements were made, and the pound rallied tremendously. Thank God I got out in time. I would have lost a lot of money. But yeah, it's the political risk. So we're gonna see. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
I saw some pictures of him and Macron, and they're being tweeted around, and he just, Macron's trying to look all, presentable and whatever, and Bojo's just kind of.
Yeah, he looks a little disheveled. He looks a little bit helter-skelter. But I mean, that's very British. That's very kind of, he looks very English. Let's just be honest.
You're telling me you guys have a very English prime minister?
Yes, we have a very English prime minister. Yeah. It's ironic. Apparently, him and Trump have met for the first time, and there's this great photograph of the two of them sitting across from each other, kind of both pointing the finger, like, "Hey, hey." So yeah, I'm sure they'll get along like a house on fire. So it should be great.
The left is just going to lose their minds,
Oh, these the left two. It's ridiculous.
Now, let's see here. I'm trying to look at.
You're trying to see if anything's been going on in the world.
I mean, yeah,
there's nothing going on, man. It's such a quiet week. Trump hasn't invaded anywhere. Russia hasn't done anything. What's going on in Hong Kong? What's that?
The Amazon's on fire.
Yeah, but no more than average. NASA said, what is everybody screaming about? This is average stuff, and it's only happening on the major farms, not in the forest itself. It's a lot of bullshit. But yeah.
Nothing much with Hong Kong. I mean, the Chinese forces haven't moved in yet.
What do you think?
Thailand hasn't done anything yet with their citizens, as far as I know. So,
do you think China's going to move in?
I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, it looks like they're just going to move in like soon, but I mean, it's just the tension's building up. I've been seeing some interesting videos of how they're handling the protesters, how the protesters are handling being suppressed. I saw some crazy stuff like so a lot of the people were posting videos of like basic examples of this like mass like teamwork that's taking place among the protesters. There was a video going around, and it was basically these people were marching in the streets, and all those like gas canisters they shoot were like being thrown at them. Right. All the tear gas was being thrown at them, and all the protesters had bottles of water with them. So the tear gas would come over, it would drop, and like 3 or 4 guys would basically hone in on it and dump their bottles of water on it to completely put it out.
To neutralize the gas.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because these things, I'm guessing these things are just, to neutralize the gas, to basically keep it from like completely spreading. It's just, because the way it looked like, it was like, guys just putting out like a firecracker or something, just pouring a bunch of water on it.
Interesting.
I don't know exactly how those work. Like if it's just plain gas, is there any sort of ignition thing that it's doing?
I don't know. I have no idea.
But they poured water on it, and it basically completely like suppressed any gas coming out of it. I'm guessing the way it is, if it's like, it was something. But if you look up these things, protesters putting out tear gas canisters. And I'm also hearing just different things they're doing to basically protect each other. I saw some picture about some like chain that they were forming in some areas to kind of like block off areas of the city, kind of protecting people and stuff. But yeah, and of course, you cannot forget our old friend Pepe the Frog helping him out too.
Yes, the liberty symbolism has been driving the left crazy of what's coming out in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Pepe,
Um,
the American
Pepe,
flag,
the
the
American
anthem.
flag. That's
Yeah.
what really blows me away. Is I mean, like people straight up saying we need Second Amendment rights. Like, oh,
Yeah. It's like, this is the reality of it. I mean, as I say, they had the Union Jack there, which was also pretty impressive, the Union flag. Um, again, yeah, for, a lot of people out here, they hate that flag and, colonialism, slavery, all this other shit. But here you have Hong Kong saying, no, this is a symbol of freedom.
what is it?
Um,
America. Americans should fight for the Second Amendment rights that people from Hong Kong believe we have.
yeah. And I think that like some of the protesters, they were chopping down some of the surveillance camera stands. I mean, the whole facial recognition system. I didn't know how much of it was implemented in Hong Kong, but I saw a couple of videos where they were cutting down the poles with all the cameras on it and stuff like that. So it's definitely escalated. And Trump did put out a tweet, or I think I made a statement to the business community, basically saying start looking for an alternative of suppliers to China. So I think he's being advised that, yeah, there is potentially going to be some kind of tussle. And yeah, we're going to see. We're going to see what happens.
What was another thing? Oh, and then funny enough, facial recognition payment systems have been popping up in China. You see this?
Yeah, you could buy. I saw, I think, the video with a girl at a like a vending machine or something.
Yeah, a vending machine that uses your face.
Sure. Yeah, but I mean that is such dodgy technology. Samsung has had so many problems with it. So has iPhone. Like you could take a photograph of your face and print it out, and then I could use that to like unlock your phone. So there has to be so many levels of checks to that. You got to make sure there's like, now they do like infrared to make sure the face actually has warmth to it, sort of thing. But yeah, I could just wear the face, and that causes problems. So it's a very dicey technology, facial recognition.
Yeah, I know. In the States here, we tried to employ a fingerprint technology.
Yeah.
Basically, you go to a grocery store and you're paying for your stuff, and they got the little credit card scanner. Well, attached to it was a little fingerprint scanner. And you could, I mean, some people, and a lot of people were like signing up for it, but apparently it didn't have enough. It didn't gain enough momentum to really stick, and then so like within a year it was gone.
Right.
But they had that. So I think the real thing people are just using now, I think that's going to catch on is like the Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay,
Right.
because it's just on your phone. So you just beep.
Yeah. We use that out here quite often because we have the contactless ability. I don't know if it's available in the US as well. It wasn't in the Caribbean, but up to £30. If it's anything less than that, you don't need to put in the code or anything. You just tap the machine, and it'll pull the information right from it. The same thing with the phone. You just tap the phone. We could do it on the underground, the buses and stuff like that, even in the co-ops and the grocery stores. And you're good. You're good to go. If I could order the ATM machine to spit out the amount of cash I want straight on the phone. I don't even need to like put in my card or anything like that. I could, through the app on the phone, walk up to the ATM machine, tap it once, and it'll give me the money that I put into it.
That won't be abused at all.
Oh,
Someone finds a way to like hack the code to make it like give me some
I mean,
money.
there's a lot of security checks in the app. So like if I call the bank, which I used to do quite regularly, there are all these security checks got to go through. But in the app, if I call the bank through the app, it handshakes automatically and bypasses the security. So the app is very, very powerful. The banking apps out here. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in the financial capital of the world, I think banking's going to be pretty good.
Yeah. The one thing the UK, does, not the banks are shit, but the banking technology is pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, some of the banks here are ancient. Bank of Scotland, Barclays, Lloyd's Bank. These are like hundreds of years old. They got records going back hundreds of years. So yeah, they're slow to turn in a sense. But yeah, the apps are very good. I can't remember the last time I actually had to step into a bank, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's actually a good thing. That's an interesting thing. Yeah, people don't walk into banks really anymore.
No, they don't. I mean, unless you need like cash or you're
Or if,
depositing cash like a business.
or if you're applying for like a massive loan.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, you do that on the apps too.
Oh yeah, you can get mortgages on apps too.
Mortgages. I got my credit card through the phone. I never went into the bank at all.
Well, if you need like a big cash withdrawal that's beyond your like ATM
Yes.
limit.
Yeah, that you'd need it for, or foreign exchange. I can't like I don't even need to go to the bank. I could go to my post office and put the money in. Right. There's a post office just around the corner from me. I deposit the cash to them and they somehow it all sorts out. So our post office out here acts as a kind of interim banking department.
Kind of like what Bernie wants to do with our post office.
He probably got the idea from us.
Yeah, I think it was basic banking services. I mean, the services that I know the post office does is like basically letters,
packages,
stamps. I don't know if you
Sometimes
can
they
do
certify documents.
like notarizing and stuff. I don't
Yeah.
know if they do the what is it called? Bill pay. Like I know Walmart does that. And then there's like money orders, but money orders are a little bit more expensive at a post office when you can go to a Walmart and do it for just a tad cheaper.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's very similar to what we have here, but we could do some banking, basic banking here as well. So they take cash and other things. I mean, your post office is in a fucking disaster, man. The amount of money it's lost. Not that the UK one is much better off, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, gee, guys, UPS and FedEx are doing just fine.
Yeah, UPS, FedEx, and DHL. Do y'all have DHL out here? There, I don't know.
We do, but you don't see a lot of it.
Yeah, the big ones are FedEx and UPS, right?
Yeah, you'll see DHL, like you'll see their trucks and stuff.
Yeah.
You don't see them delivering much. You get more of like you actually get a guy like what is it called, speedy delivery, and it's just that's I don't know if that's local, but it's basically, I mean, it's a truck looking like a UPS truck, but on the side it's a speedy delivery and it's a white truck.
Yeah.
Those guys deliver. And then you got your post office, of course. But in terms of private companies,
I'm sure there are a lot of small, unknown local ones, like Old Dominion and what was another one?
well, Old Dominion is freight.
They only do freight. I think don't they do some package delivery?
Only
Maybe
freight.
I'm wrong.
Only freight.
Okay.
I've got some friends that work for them, and it's only freight. It's semi trucks driving around with freight. They deliver. I mean, they just got semis pulling up to businesses and delivering, whatever they're dropping off and stuff. And yeah, you got a lot of these like freight companies.
Yeah. But I mean, Amazon is getting into that game as well.
Yeah, so Amazon Prime is getting into stuff. I see a lot of those around the Twin Cities area. So a lot of these trucks that I mean, they're just looking like, like a little work van. It's got Amazon Prime on the side. Yeah. And it's just individuals just driving these around, dropping off packages at people's houses. Every now and then you'll see a semi, but that's just like going from like location to location. They're not going to houses.
House to house, right. Yeah.
Unless there's that off chance they're delivering like large furniture or something. But,
pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's funny too, is Amazon started as like, what was it? Amazon was like an online book company. It was an online bookstore.
It was originally a bookshop sold in the back of his car. Jeff Bezos. His story is fascinating.
I mean, it was it was a bookstore.
Yeah, it started off as a bookshop.
Yeah. Online bookstore turned online, then it turned into a whole bunch of other things, and they started selling stuff.
Everything.
And now they're like, they made their own tablet, they make their own streaming service, own movies, own TV shows, own phones.
They have some planes that they do their shipping with.
Get their own plane. Well, I mean, they just buy one and slap Amazon on it.
Amazon
right?
on it. But yeah, no, it's actually, if they build it up, it could rival FedEx, and people were actually a little concerned about that, the investors. So, but it's a true conglomerate, right? And plus they do cloud services, which is where most of their revenue. The only time Amazon started making money was through cloud services. So the hosting of Netflix and or like all of these streaming services online and all of the back end data for Facebook and all this kind of stuff is held on the cloud. And Amazon was the biggest. I'm not sure if they still are. No, they are the biggest, but Microsoft is kind of chomping at the bit. They're growing faster. But yeah, that's when Amazon for the first time made a profit, right? Is when they did cloud services.
So, yeah, Brian in the chat's talking about robots. I'm thinking, man, wait till Amazon comes out with their first robot.
Well, he's invested in Baxter, right? I made this prediction like 3 years ago. Baxter was a $20,000 robot that you can program like by moving its hands. So you don't need to code it. You could basically move the hands and say like record this action and whatever it needs to do, right? Move a cup or whatever the thing is. And that's how you program it. And it could do whatever menial task that you needed to do. Supported by Jeff Bezos. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
How long before Jeff Bezos looks like it's his doppelganger in South Park?
I mean, he's looking jacked, man. I mean, have you seen the pictures of this guy? He's like 67, 68. Talk about do the fucking work, man. I mean, he's really up there.
Not to mention, the divorce.
Yes, making his wife the richest woman on the planet. Yeah, in modern history, but there were richer people in the past. I think there was some African king that had like gold mines and diamonds and like worth in today's money $100 trillion.
But it wasn't a woman though.
Well, yeah, he might have had a wife, and yeah, well, we don't know. We don't know what happened with that. But yeah, in modern history, definitely the richest woman that ever was.
Yeah, we won't get into that too much. We've talked about that before.
Yeah, wasn't there like a recent study where 70% of the richest women on the Forbes list all got it from divorce?
Only 6 out of the top 100 richest women in the world
earned it.
Self-made.
Yeah.
Self-made.
And that's like the Martha Stewart's, Oprah. I can't think of any others. Can I think no, I can't think of any others, to be honest.
Which is the problem. That's the thing is, and it's not like we're sitting here saying, women can't make money. It's just they haven't.
Exactly.
They can't. They just haven't. Yeah. So you got to look at it and go, oh, that's strange. Like, so what are the other women getting their money from? Inheriting estates and divorces.
Correct. Correct.
And yeah,
the Walton family, which is Walmart, I think they all inherited, a share of the company, and I think there were 2 girls in that, and they're like, I don't know, a couple billion. I don't know what they were. I don't really follow it anymore. I used to, but then you have the flip side. Like Warren Buffett has a daughter. He's not leaving his money to his kids, right? But she runs a charity and he gives very generously to her charity. And it's pretty shit. Like, I mean, your dad is worth $775 billion, and you're not going to get any of that.
Not even a little bit?
No, they're not getting. I think he said he might give them like a small portion, but the bulk of it he plans to give away to charity and these other types of things. So that's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. I don't know how that reflects on the kids. I did see an interview with the kids once, and I have to admit they did not look happy.
Yeah, I mean, even like have them split, a small chunk. But I mean, what would be a small chunk of 75 billion?
Yeah, I don't know how many kids he's got. I think he's got like
2 or 3. Yeah, if he's got like 2 or 3 kids, and they split like 1 billion.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see what he does.
Still,
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy. I mean,
Unless he's like allowed them to like partake in what he does so that they can make their own money.
this is the dilemma for wealthy parents, right? The idea is, especially those who've kind of bootstrapped it, they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and they kind of made a fortune in their lifetime. There is a dilemma when it comes to their kids to say, well, if I can do it, my kids can do it too. The problem is, no, they can't, because the world that you did it in is different to the world that your kids are going to be raised in. So it's not as easy to say, yeah, it's as easy as that. And that is the real dilemma. Do you leave your kids with nothing to the point where you hope that they will be driven enough to live a better life? Or do you leave money, as like scripture would say, to your children's children, so that they don't have to worry about money and they can pursue their passions? I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah. You push them just comedian I listened to, it said, you push them just enough, you push them just enough that they're successful, but not so much that they are scarred for life.
Yeah. No, that's a good way. That's a good way, because some of them are really fucked up, right? Some of
Beat
these
them, he
rich
says,
people's
you,
kids.
you beat them to greatness.
Yeah. Like, I mean, Drew Barrymore was a train wreck. Paris Hilton. Thanks, Brian. I saw that in the comment. But I mean, ironically, she's doing very well now because she's like the top paid DJ in Europe right now or something like that. So she's turned her fame into a brand, and she has bags, perfumes, and all these other kinds of things. But then you have like the Kardashians, which are fucking useless, and the daughter's worth over $1 billion. For what? Like, it's
Sex tape.
No, that's Kim Kardashian. The younger one is worth like $1 billion.
Oh, no. Oh, so yeah, she put out basically a thing like, donate to me to make me a billionaire.
Yeah, but she was already up to like $850 million, and she was looking to raise 150 to kind of take her over the edge. Where the fuck did that money come from?
Thirsty boys.
Yeah, it's only fans, I mean, that is the risk, especially if you've made it in entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
The risk is your kids are going to go down that road, and it's going to be social media. It's going to be shock jockeying. It's going to be trying to outdo everybody else, So,
right.
Yeah, the thirst is real. The thirst is real.
Way too real.
So on that, how many OnlyFans memberships are you a part of?
None.
Good on you, man. Real women, much better.
I will admit though, I have dabbled in it. Like there's some that I'll like buy a month and then can't immediately cancel it. So I just have a month on there, right. And I'll take a look and just see, is this worth anything? I did it a couple times to see like what all this hype was about. And then I looked around and I'm like, what they'll do with OnlyFans is, obviously they post pictures. So there's all that. And then they'll post like some videos, but they get you in there, so you're already paying, some $10 with some $20 a month to like access this. And it's supposed to give you like access to whatever model it is, talk to her, chat with her and all this, but she will still spam the hell out of your account to get you to buy more.
Right.
Oh, I did like a special video that shows even more for $30. I did a video, I did a photo shoot, I did this, I did a that, I had a friend do this with me, you can buy that. So it's like, it's like you've already paid. Well, it's really no different than a strip club in some ways. You pay the door fee, you walk in, all the chicks are stripping and already doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
But you pay for
the dances. Yeah.
And then in the cases where you and I went, you can pay for even more stuff. And then
you go up to the champagne room.
Yeah, you go up to the champagne room, and then they had this whole crazy thing, a bed. I'm like, what are you gonna fucking do in a bed that's not, illegal? Not gonna get too much
cameras, so that anyway.
Exactly. So they got all this, and it's just, it's not like, so you pay the door fee, you walk in, but it's everything else.
It's upward sales. It's up marketing. I mean, I've only done it once I think there was one OnlyFans that I was a part of. I didn't pay a lot. It's like £5, no nudity, but it was this absolutely stunning redhead. And I don't know why. Every time I saw her, it's just like, yeah, I could do with more of that. But no
Yeah.
nudity, nothing thing. It was basically like her pole dancing, jumping around her underwear and stuff. I think I got rid of that, but I never spoke to her. I never.
There's plenty of that too.
What?
Oh, women with OnlyFans or Patreon or whatever they're
Oh yeah,
doing,
yeah.
where they literally like it's just sexy, but that's it. There's no nudity. There's no, you know.
Yeah, correct. I mean, the thirst is real, bro. I mean, as we say, we talked about the bathwater chick that she ran out of bathwater to sell at $30 a pop or whatever the hell it was. And yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, that is the currency for the female is attention. You know, that part of the red pill conditioning is like you do not give women undeserved attention.
But that's all it's done out there.
Yeah, because let's be real, 80% of the men out there don't know that, and they're
Eh,
willing to pay.
here's something that's interesting. So one of these individuals that's as an OnlyFans that I was following, and I won't say who. It's just they're out there. So she's this chick, and puts out her OnlyFans, she has content and all this stuff. Started putting up merch, like her crew or whatever. And then she started putting out like a course, how to be Instagram famous.
Right. Okay.
And I'm sitting here thinking, is anyone like, how can anyone take it seriously to think, oh yeah, let me go buy this book or this course from a thought on the internet on how to be famous on the internet, as if it wasn't obvious enough.
Yes.
I mean, what are you going to do? Like talk about like engagement and content production? It's like, it's not really like how often, or it's what you look like. Like you look a certain way, you post enough, and the motivation is just the money that's going to come in from what you're posting.
Sure. I for women, that's definitely the case.
You post a couple pics, a couple of thirsty guys are sharing it around, and then they get their buddies all follow. And then once you hit a certain like critical point where you can start like putting out like special content that costs money.
Yeah.
You make it.
I mean, that's the premium snaps. That's all of that sort of nonsense.
Yeah, you make it,
agreed.
and then like you don't really need motivation to put out content anymore. Like, for you and me doing this podcast, like, we're doing our best to like put out good content, have good discussions, be consistent. We just don't have tits, man.
Well, not yet. We're waiting for episode 69, but
yeah. But I mean, you get what I'm saying. Is like it's we're motivated by different things. Whereas like with a chick that's looks half decent and can do a couple of good selfies and start up an OnlyFans account, man, you're set.
You can be set.
You can be set if you're smart, because I have no doubt that most of these women get so much freaking money and probably don't pay taxes either. Get completely screwed somewhere down the line with either a tax bill, or they don't save and don't invest, and they get stuck with no money after they've crashed into the wall.
No, correct. And on that point, there are 2 points on that. I think, did you hear about this ex-porn star that was found living in the tunnels underneath San Francisco?
I mean, it sounds like
I don't know. I didn't actually follow up on it to know if it's true.
Interesting premise to a porno.
But yeah, basically, she made a bunch of money as a porn star. It's like Jenna Lee or something like that. I can't remember. And obviously now she's in her late 30s. Not as attractive. She's not getting the work, and basically she's homeless, but apparently there's this community living in these tunnels underground in San Francisco. Was it Las Vegas, Brian? I don't know. Maybe it's Las Vegas. And there's like these whole communities of people that are living down there. So yeah, it goes to show that, especially for women, the war can be merciless. Are you looking it up?
No. Just something came up, popped up. It looks like Facebook is discontinuing group chats. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't. Did that just came up there?
It's going to be starting in like over to the next few days. But yeah, Facebook is discontinuing group chats. So a lot of these chats that I have either with my family or groups that I work with, it's all going away for some reason. It makes as much sense as when Google decided to take away Hangouts on Air.
I think well for Facebook they probably want you to move to WhatsApp. That's kind of their group texting sort of thing. So Messenger and WhatsApp are in competition technically, even though it's the same company. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to look into it more. But the second thing I was going to say on this thought audit, and chicks being stupid with money. I recently watched the Robert Kiyosaki London Real interview. Did you see this?
Mm-mm.
I posted it on my page today. And Robert Kiyosaki was like the big influence in my life as a young man in terms of understanding entrepreneurship and understanding how money works, how banking, finance, real estate, a lot of these things. And he talked about that. He said some things in that I completely agree with in terms of you do not just deal with the poor by giving them money. Giving poor people money usually means you create more poor people, and that's not going to solve anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about, as I've tried to explain to some of our progressive friends, you watch a lot of the lottery winners or even professional athletes, former, whatever, sports and all these different types of things, even some celebrities making ridiculous money at some point in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And because they don't have the mindset, they have a poor person's mindset when it comes to money, they eventually end up losing all of it or more as time goes on, right? So, I mean, classic case in back in the 80s was MC Hammer, one of the biggest acts in the world, making tons of money. He had no financial sense. He was employing practically the entire neighborhood. He was trying to take everybody on this journey and stuff like that. And it all blew up in his face, right?
I remember if you look at like they've done plenty of these, but the interviews they did with Will Smith.
Yes.
In his early years, he had the fortune of having multiple chances to screw up and learn.
Yes. Yeah. Which he did. Exactly.
Yeah. I think it was like once he got, I think it was a rap that he first got into. So he got into the whole rap scene, and then he made like $8 million as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And then he blew it all.
Yeah.
And then he got into, I think then it was Fresh Prince and all that. But he really had a lot of chances to just, make the money, screw up, make the money, then screw up again, then kind of go, okay, hold on to the money this time,
Yeah,
set
exactly.
myself up, be smarter and all this. So yeah, there's that. You have those cases where people basically, as I said, have the fortune of screwing up multiple times so they can learn, versus not, just having the one time to completely, screw up and have no recourse.
Correct.
Let's see here.
I mean, there was a great story because we had a lottery winner in the UK. I'm actually quickly trying to see if I can find who it is. He's a young kid. He was like 19 years old. I think he won like £8 million.
Oh.
Blew it. Like, poof, gone in 2 years. And he did all of the really dumb things, right? I mean, he was like jewelry. He bought this ridiculously expansive house. He put like dirt tracks in the back to run his ATVs. Just like all of the wrong things that you're supposed to do. And then completely ran through it. And then there was another girl. I think she was 17 at the time when she won it. Not a huge amount, but she blew that too. And now she's trying to sue the lottery board, saying that children under the age of 21 should not be eligible to play. And she's suing them for like £2 million. You can't make this shit up.
It's amazing what people will come up with nowadays to sue the government or with. Now, have we talked? I don't think we've talked about this on the show. I know you and I have talked about this in the past.
Right.
winning the lottery, what would you do if you did?
How much money?
Oh, good question. Well, what's the lottery at in the UK right now?
The national lottery in the UK is probably about 3.5 million pounds. It doesn't get very high. It goes up to about 15 million. The Euro Millions gets big. The Euro Millions right now is at 97 million. And that one, I mean, that's some serious money.
97 million pounds, which is
97 million pounds.
over 100 million US.
126 million US dollars.
What are taxes on your lottery winners?
None.
What?
We don't pay taxes on winnings.
Really?
Yeah, because it's not earned. It's not something that you haven't worked for it. So it's not labor.
Oh, you guys got the whole communist definition of work and labor and value. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, we have income tax and VAT. So income tax means you've earned income. A winning is not income. In fact, it's the same thing with stocks and shares. If you just buy shares and you don't sell them, you just buy stocks and you just hold them. You don't pay any capital gains on it.
What about on the dividends?
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, you might get, because that's income. So savings and income is something different.
No. So you win and you just get the flat amount you have to pay in tax. Now, what if an American goes there and wins it?
For the national lottery, you have to be in the UK in order to qualify. Right.
So let's say I go there. Let's say I go visit for like a couple weeks, and then I bought a ticket and I won somehow.
Right. I don't think it'll be a problem.
Would I come back in the US and be like, no, you got to pay taxes on this?
Yes, the US will basically take a chunk out of it, because the US does global taxation.
Unless I keep it in a UK bank.
That would be tax evasion.
Don't tell anyone.
But beyond that, you wouldn't be able to touch it in any kind of capacity. Like, you wouldn't be able to explain the income without declaring it to the government.
Seek asylum in Europe.
You could renounce your citizenship, and with if it's a substantial money, yeah, there are a couple countries here that'll give you, European citizenship, no problem.
Yeah, renounce your citizenship, pay us a little extra, and you get to evade taxes. No, I
mean, the gambling culture in the UK is actually very interwoven into the culture. It's like this country likes to bet, and they bet on everything. They bet on elections and the weather and sports and horses, races, and just everything.
But that can also become a problem, though, doesn't it? Or do you guys view gambling addiction as a different thing than we do?
No, it's the same thing. But generally speaking, I mean, obviously we have our fair share of gambling addicts out here. But it's kind of it's just a cultural thing. Like, when I had my ex-girlfriend, like, any kind of special occasion that they'd have, they would give you little scratch cards, with your card. Like Christmas time, I would get a Christmas card, and in it would be like £100,000 scratch card or something like that. We scratch to win £100,000. Just little things like that. That's actually a very common gesture, at least in England. I don't know if everywhere else is like that.
Yeah, so someone freaking wins.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen somebody who's won the lottery. Then they went back to the lottery shop and they bought a scratch card, and then they won that too. So it's like weird stuff happens, But yeah, that's it. It's very common out here. Like, we vote on the politics. We vote on the Eurovision, which is a song contest out here in Europe, where different countries send singers and they all compete to see who's the best, and everything. There's a betting pool on. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, I'm not into the gambling scene, so I don't really deal with it very much. But yeah, it's pretty big out here.
Well, I've seen some I guess you guys have like casinos that are kind of like just off the street.
Yeah, somewhat, like on your high street. Not very. I don't know if we have very big casinos.
But I mean, you're not like the way we do it here in the States is like either. I mean, if you're in Vegas, they're all over the place. But then if you're here in like Minnesota or some of these Midwest states, it's like there's a separate like plot of land that's like that's the casino. Whereas in like the UK, it's it could be like it could be between shops. It could be off the street somewhere. It could be in an alleyway or something. It's just integrated as just a regular building that's there.
Yeah. The brokerage shop that we have right here is right in the town square. right next to one of the property agents and a cafe where you could get food. So it's just right there. And I think there's like a White Witch magic shop right on the corner as well. So this is a pretty funky town. But yeah, we don't have a lot of that zoning and stuff like that because I don't know. I guess we don't give a shit about if people are addicted to gambling or not.
Yeah, that's the thing with Minnesota is technically casinos are illegal to exist on regular property. So technically they only exist on reservation property.
Right. So you have the zoning issue in that respect.
Yeah, like when we're stepping into a casino, it's Native American land.
Right. We don't have, but then we don't have big casinos like that. We don't have, like, we have a betting shop here, right? You go in there, they got some televisions with different sports on it, couple sheets, a cashier, ATM, and like a bookie exchange cage to get cash. So that's not a casino. It's just a betting hall or whatever you want to call it. I haven't actually seen a casino out here. There's one in Covent Garden, but I've never gone into it. That's kind of the biggest one I've seen, but I haven't gone in, so I don't know what's inside. But Covent Garden is huge. That's a tourist trap. That's where you go.
Right. But man, we should be running out of.
How much? What would I do with which winning?
Right. 97 million pounds, the euro thing.
If I won the Euro Million, which I plan to do this Tuesday at 8 p.m., I'll take 2 million of that for silly money, and I will just do a lot of stupid traveling. I think I'll put 10% of that aside, so 9.5 million will be invested probably at Goldman Sachs, and that will be like a charity fund. So all of the charitable things that I want to do, I will do that through that. The balance of it, depending on the returns I get from Goldman Sachs, I will either start investing the primary money into real estate. Just, as I say, right out of the monopoly, you get four greenhouses, one red hotel. So I'll just jump to the hotels. And probably not hotels, but office buildings, because Airbnb is destroying the hotel industry. But it would be property. It would be vast swaths of property. And the property out here is commercial. You could get it for as little as 10 to 1. I'd say I'd do like 30 to 1 to 100. So I'll put down $90 million worth of money to purchase $270 million worth of property. So just about a third.
How do you do that?
Because it's leverage. You use mortgages.
Oh, you're putting money down to mortgage.
Yeah. So the 90 million, or whatever's left, it would be 85 million. The balance of the money would go into property. And then the income, well, for me, because I'm trying to build assets and I don't really need, I don't have any big expenses really. The income from the properties will go into a hedge fund or some kind of stock investment. And then I will then live off of 10% of the dividends that come out of that investment. The rest of the money will be reinvested. So you create a cycle. This is actually what Rich Dad Poor Dad was all about in terms of putting your money to work for you, which is the problem why most people go poor, because they use the money and they consume their capital. A capitalist will look at it and be like, no, this money has to work for me in some kind of capacity. So that's what I would do. But there'll be some crazy trips, and you and I'll be going out to Vegas and, living it up in like Caesar's Palace suites, and it'll be, hookers and blow and all that good stuff,
So what you're saying is you'd fly me out there and we'd
I'll give you like $1 million and just be like, yeah, go nuts.
Yeah, that'll definitely do it. So yeah,
you may not come back.
No, then I might do something similar to what you're doing with that $1 million. I'm like, okay, I'm only going to be blowing 100,000.
Right. Yeah, no, that's fine. It's like, here, happy birthday. Yeah, take $1 million. And do with it what you want. Put it all on black.
Yeah. No. One thing I was. Man, okay. I guess I have to say now. What would I do if I won?
So if you won, it would be say $120 million. Give roughly the conversion. What would you do?
Well, being in the US, I'd have to pay half of that in tax.
Pretty fucking much. Yeah, just being honest.
Fucking America. Yeah, that's the
Fucking
same.
no, your tax system sucks. Not that it's better here.
But it's just funny. Like your first thing's, oh, I'm gonna go invest it and do some fun, and I'm like sitting here, like first thing I gotta do is pay the taxes.
Fucking taxes. Is it more than half? I think it's just under half.
No,
It's like
no.
48.
So if you win like a lottery in Minnesota, I think it's not subject to federal taxes. It's subject to state taxes.
Right.
Minnesota has like a 37.5% tax on winnings.
Right.
So if it was 120 million, so 30, so like 2/3 of that, roughly.
Yeah.
Um, fuck, what I meant. Oh, so it's like 80-ish something
Yeah.
million. So I take that and
You wouldn't pay state income. You wouldn't pay. Would you pay winnings on because you didn't win it in the state?
well, if I won like the Powerball in this state.
Oh, okay. So if you want to, okay, you're talking about the US equivalent then. Okay, fair enough. Not the
Yeah.
Euro Millions. Like if you flew here and won the Euro Millions, you actually would not have to pay state taxes. You'd probably pay federal taxes, but you may not have. It's like if you went to Florida and won it, I think there might be a difference to it.
What if a foreigner? Oh wow, Google is knowing.
the fucking mind reading. It's listening to what we're talking about. Did it come up automatically?
What if a foreigner won the Euro Millions?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we could get to that, but finish the story. So, okay, let's just say, all right, you pay half of it in taxes. You got 60, let's say 65, just to be generous. What do you do?
Well, we talked about this before, and you were giving me some tips, like the whole thing with Goldman Sachs and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, first, I'd. Well, I mean, definitely quit my job. Actually, I actually thought about it because people, the typical thing, oh, just quit your job. Like, I would probably like give a 2-week notice to work, but
Sure.
be saying, hey, like, but I'd be very like cautious about telling anyone at work. Like, I'd just be, 2-week notice.
Who would you tell? Would you tell anyone? I probably wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't tell anyone.
I'll
just say I got a really good job in the city.
I could just say, oh, there's been a change of priorities.
Sure.
Something like that,
So when you pull up to your family gathering in a Lamborghini Aventador, a $1.3 million car, just gonna say you've been delivering pizzas.
I've thought about like I mean, granted, it's pretty juvenile to think this way, but I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, if so I win it and I quit it. I quit my job, and then I'm so I'm home now. It's like, okay, so I'm gonna like obviously get out of where I live. I'm gonna move into the city, probably buy myself like a condo, like in one of the high rises in Minneapolis or something.
You'd stay in Minneapolis. You'd stay in Minnesota.
I'd get something here to like just to have like.
Okay.
But then we talked about, like, I've talked about, like, I'd have a place here.
Yeah.
I'd probably get myself a place in Taiwan.
Right.
Like somewhere like maybe my mom and them could like live, and then like somewhere I could live like right next to it or something. I don't know.
Sure.
Obviously take care of, immediate family stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that needs to be taken care of, I can do that. Because there's I don't believe there's any taxes on like if you like pay off things from other people, right?
No, I think you can give gifts. Gifts are tax exempt as far as I know for the most part.
Minnesota, US is different.
Yeah, in the
I'm
UK,
saying instead of giving a direct gift, which can be taxable, I give.
Oh, you pay off their debt kind of thing. Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah,
that's not tax.
Yeah, because it's just directly to So I do all that, and then of course, then I can have certain things that I like purchase for them in my name, but then sign it over to them, whatever.
Yeah.
and then kind of obviously, go travel and whatnot. But yeah, have places like one in Minnesota, one in Taiwan, maybe, and then of course maybe like depending upon how much I'm spending, I obviously I'm also putting money into like creating income. Obviously make the money work for me and all that. I don't know if I would do. I mean, properties has always been a good thing. I know you've told me that.
Yeah,
Um, I don't think I would ever want to buy any sort of businesses. I mean, maybe some
it's a
point in
lot
the
of work.
future. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe at some point in the future, like kind of. I've thought about different things like uh, kind of giving back and stuff, like setting up charity or something.
Yeah, 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 good, good.
Um, some of the examples I've liked that I've seen in the past. So like my hometown where I grew up, went to high school. One of the we had a football player from my town, played in the NFL, and what he did was he held a golf tournament, and that followed by a silent auction of like high end like NFL memorabilia, signed footballs, signed helmets. He had so his team we'll go for his team played in the Super Bowl and won.
Hmm.
So he
Cool.
has a ring. He didn't like sell the ring, but he took his helmet and had his whole team sign it
Right, right,
and
right.
auction that. Uh,
Cool.
and all the proceeds went to our high school football program.
Cool.
So I've thought about something like that
You want to give money
to
to the Glee Club? Is that
no,
what you're saying?
no. No, I would like set up some sort of a foundation that like is focused on funding like extracurricular activities for schools.
Cool. Cool.
Um,
Yeah,
obviously, yeah.
I might give something to my what would be the equivalent of my high school. I'd get a building named after me.
Oh, okay, Trump.
Yeah, yeah,
Gold letters, Potter
yeah.
Tower.
Because in retrospect, it's not that expensive to build in Trinidad, right? So it would be the equivalent of let's say 600, 700,000 US dollars. You could build basically an entirely new wing to the school.
Yeah, I was thinking like I would name the foundation like something like after the school or after the town. Um,
Right, right.
Not, I mean, and obviously and people would find out my name is on it, but I'd have it where it could, using, I obviously put in a chunk of the money to like get things going, but also like using it to like help build the community kind of thing through funding extracurricular and stuff. Because I think like I mean, if I really want to call myself a libertarian and believe in private charities and all this,
You got to walk the walk.
yeah, I'm gonna put something out there, but it also doesn't hurt to like build a community and you know being someone that's like giving back and stuff. Because and
Yeah,
I've
no,
also thought
completely
like
agree.
and not to get all political or anything, but I'd probably even like kind of use that it not just as something I'd want to do, but also like use that to kind of like really reconnect and be part of where I live there.
Hmm. I'm surprised you stayed in Minnesota.
I
I
wouldn't
mean,
stay. I would have somewhere to stay.
right, right. You'd have somewhere. I would have thought you would have moved.
Into the city.
I guess, yeah. St. Paul is a decent city. Yeah, I guess. So you
Minneapolis.
wouldn't want to go to New York. You wouldn't want to go to Los Angeles. You wouldn't want to go to Seattle or Texas or.
Um.
I mean, if I was buying property in the U.S., I'd probably buy it in Texas.
Oh no, I buy it in different places.
Right, right, right. Like if I had to choose where to live in the U.S., no offense to you, of course, and no offense to Minnesota, but it wouldn't be my first choice if
I
I
don't
was
know. I
like
mean,
having a place.
this
No,
is
I
just
mean
me
it just
going
means
off
you
the
love
top of
it,
my head.
you love the state. You've been there your whole life. You have that connection. I don't. So
Yeah.
I'm just kind of surprised at how connected you are to the land and to the state. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, like I said, I'd buy like a condo like in the city, but I mean, that's probably as far as I'd go. Like if I'd
Yeah.
want to own any property here, it would have to be something really worth it. But I've been hearing, had a buddy of mine I was talking to that was telling me that like Minnesota is kind of walking down the path of becoming another California.
Yeah, it's kind of slipping in that direction a little bit.
In a lot of ways. So I'm like, okay, that's why I'm just gonna keep it like limited. Like, yeah, a place that I can, have to come by, and then if have and family obviously is gonna still be here. So it's like I need somewhere to like entertain family if I'm here, you know.
I suppose. I mean, I guess I would do the same thing. I'd buy a same kind of thing, a condo, something small, 1-bedroom place in London. Why? Because it's one of the greatest cities in the world.
Well, London's one thing. Like if I was from any of the major cities, I'd probably buy something bigger.
No, I wouldn't want to buy anything bigger because I actually don't want to live in London. London is becoming quite shit. But the thing about London is all of the entertainment, everything that's going on is in London. So the only reason I have somewhere in London is because I'm going to a concert, I'm going to some event, and I need to crash somewhere overnight. I would buy something in London. It'll be the only reason if I bought something in New York, it's the same reason. Not that I want to live in,
So yeah, I have somewhere here, but then I'd probably buy something more proper, like I don't know, maybe in Texas. I don't know. I'm thinking like I wouldn't want to be. I mean, Texas is nice. I don't really think Florida would be a good one because Florida's got too many old people.
Depends on how south of Florida you go. It becomes younger and younger, apparently.
Yeah.
Or Spanish, but that's a whole other story.
And then I was about to say maybe I should go to Orlando and start a convention. No. Or I mean New York, like these other major cities, like Seattle, New York, Miami, or Texas, Dallas, and all these places. Depending upon what brings me where, how things change, I could move to any one of those places.
Yeah, you could.
But Minneapolis would kind of like be.
It'll always be home.
It will. I just wouldn't put a lot of money into home.
No, sure. I mean, like I might consider buying something in Trinidad. Not that I have any plans for that, but yeah, because my sister and myself want to go back to visit my mother back in Trinidad and Tobago, and we both go down at least once a year. I'm going to make two trips this year, as I've discussed. So instead of having an Airbnb and you got to do that whole thing or getting a hotel, it's good to have a place you could just crash into, sort of thing. So I get that. I get that. I guess I'm a little more nomadic in that sense because I don't have what you have, right? I'm not connected to the land like you are.
I mean, I think I would still be nomadic in the sense of like. I wouldn't stay anywhere for more than a couple months or anything.
Oh, you want to do the perpetual traveler thing to avoid the taxes?
There's that. There's also just the fun of like, I mean, not too crazy where I'm just going to be jet lagged all the time, right. But having just kind of like having that freedom to like, if someone wants to meet up, someone wants to do something, and like wouldn't it be it'd be so much fun if you're just you're talking to a friend who's halfway around the world, and you're just you're talking about like meeting up, and they're talking about how they got some days off coming up. You're like, okay, I'll see you next week then.
Sure.
Just go.
Yeah.
And just no problem, and then you can like take them out, have some fun, do whatever, kind of to take the time.
Sure.
Also help them too to kind of like be in a position where it's like, yeah, we can just take the time and do whatever. What do you want to do? We'll do this. We'll go do that. And then they're like, oh, okay, my days off are done. I'm going back to work. All right, I'll go home or I'll call up someone else. And what are you doing? And then like I'll be, whether it's like go to, so I'll be in Taiwan and spend Chinese New Year, and then I'm like, well, nothing's really going on, and I hit you up and. Hey, what are you doing next week?
No, I get it. I mean, that is the nomadic life, and while you're young, not married, no kids, I think it's a very good way to live.
Yeah,
so I'm totally
even if I do meet someone that's just like wants to like tag along for like a time, just be able to afford that. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's see who wins the lottery first.
We've had this conversation so many times about winning the lottery.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool.
There was even a time
I have to actually buy a ticket now. So
Maybe me too. I mean, we can talk about this. There was a time where a group of us from like some of our friends and stuff connected up to like consolidate. Like, okay, we're all gonna like share our tickets with each other, and
yeah,
if one of us wins, we're gonna split it equal.
yeah. Because that was the big one. That was like the 1 point something billion dollar
That was
Powerball.
yeah, it wasn't the last big one, but the one before that, I think.
Yeah. And it was a bunch of us from Minnesota and elsewhere. Somebody we said we'll send money to, they bought tickets for us.
We had a couple that were out of the country that we were, I think, like you and a couple other people that were like part of it, and we were like, I mean, granted,
and
I don't know how that would. There's got to be a way it works, but
people have won it. Like I know a couple of people have won. Not I don't know if it's the Powerball, but they've won like state lotteries and stuff, and they were visitors. They were just traveling through the country.
right. What I'm getting at is like if people like if we because there were some people we had to buy tickets for them. Like we had to buy a ticket for you.
Yeah.
But then if you're not actually here to claim it, how does that work?
Yeah, no, I mean that's the issue.
Because if we cash it and try to gift it to you, then it's taxed even more.
Well, I mean that's what we said. We would split it. We would form because we have a friend who has a lottery winner and she knows how all this stuff is done. And I mean the ones who do it, they play the pools and stuff like that. They have it all organized and their minutes and receipts for everything, and they register lotteries, Lucky Lotteries Incorporated or whatever the fuck it is, and they do it really professionally in the event that they win. So we had somebody like that who knew a lottery winner, and she was advising us on what to do and stuff. So
that's right.
Yeah.
I think it was like if we won, like each of us after taxes and all that would get like maybe $20 million each,
something like that,
20 or 15 or something. But it was still like, yeah, like
Bro, I could make anything work, man.
yeah, it's surprising though. I mean, you really think about it, like there's like thresholds of if you have a certain amount of money, like certain thresholds where you can just certain things like it can change the way you look at things.
Right. Yeah. There comes a point when you have fuck you money.
Right? But it's like I think it's like even beyond fuck you money in some ways. It's,
right.
It's just
when
like
you go beyond that. That is yeah. I mean, the rich live in a very different world. I mean, and we could probably have that discussion in another podcast, but they have their own set of problems. But you don't really get affected with that until you cross about 15 million US.
Yeah, I mean, you come into a possession of like a couple million, and yeah, that's good.
You can live comfortably. You could,
you can live comfortably. Maybe not as easy, not as much like nomadic as you were saying. Just go wherever I want. You kind of have to like really build up to that at that point. That'll maybe take you a few years, but then once you're getting into that, the tens of millions, like you said, 15 million, and even into like more than that, you start to like perspectives start to change because you can like, and this is kind of a goal I'd say like is I wanted to be in some position where to be able to like not only for myself but also for other people around me, like
sure
not to get try to flex some Christian vernacular, but definitely have the ability to bless people around me.
Yeah, I get what you say. I mean, it's the same reason I would set up the charity. For two reasons. One, I want to bless people without necessarily knowing that I'm blessing them. Because if friends and family find out that you have like a big lump sum, it just causes problems. Like if I won the 97 million pounds and I say, hey, Amos, cool, we're going out to Vegas. Here, take $1 million. There comes a point where it's like, well, why didn't you give me more? You got like so much. Why can't you give me more? Right.
Well, even then,
just saying that is the tendency for friends and family.
Even like for family, like, so I'll just say this, like let's say I did win and, family finds out.
Yeah.
And they start asking me like, what are you going to do? It's like, oh, okay. So I'll tell them like, yeah, I'm going to invest in this. I'm going to invest in that. I'm going to do all these things. And they, and I said, and then I'll probably just dispel the whole thought process, and I said, you're probably all wondering what you're going to like have out of all this. And I'll just look at them and be like, whatever you need, let me know.
Right.
I said, and I will think about it. Like I said, but
That's the thing. What I'd say, okay, because we're definitely up on time. There's a great series about people who've lost all their money after they've won the lottery. I think it's like Lottery Winners. It was on TLC or something like that. And here's what ends up happening: the minute friends and family find out you have anything, no matter what you give them, it's never enough, and it tears families apart. Like even yeah, I mean, well, it tears marriages, friends. It all comes crumbling down. So if you say, okay, whatever you need, they'll be like, well, what if I need a vacation to the Bahamas or whatever?
No.
Right. And then you say no. And then you'd be like, what the hell? It's like no money. You got all this money and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, no, that's what's tricky is
it's probably, yeah. Which is why it's better people don't know.
But if they find out, how do you have that conversation?
Yeah, I know my cover story. I don't know what your cover story is going to be.
We'll have to talk about this off air. I mean, we're talking about something else off air, but
yeah. That's a whole other conversation.
But all right, well, we'll have to have this conversation another time, probably after you get back after the 69 episode. But
yes,
thank you everyone, of course, for joining us. Do, of course, like I said, check out it in the description, our subscribe star for all the different rewards you can get on, but also subscribe to the channel, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, and any other podcasting platform you use, which include Podbean, which is where we're hosted. Follow both of us on Twitter. You see both of our handles in the video, which is at Amos Joe for me, at Brook_Potter. Like the video, click the bell icon for live streams in the future, leave a comment, and of course, everything's in the description. Anything else you want to add quick, Brooke?
No, good discussion. I kind of went strange there, but we'll definitely have some follow-up in the subscribe stuff.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you everyone for joining us. We will, of course, see you guys next Sunday. We're not going to do a Thursday stream. So
yes, because I'm traveling.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
And